Have you ever felt, I don't know, kind of stuck between two choices that just don't feel right? On one side, you've got this idea of a universe that's just a random, chaotic accident, and on the other, a faith that asks for blind belief in things you can't possibly understand. Well, today, we're going to run a different kind of analysis. We're doing a source code audit of reality itself to see if we can find the signal inside all that noise.
Right? I mean, we've all felt that intellectual squeeze. Science tells us it's all just chaos, and religion often says, just accept these mystical secrets, don't ask questions. But what if that's a false choice? Seriously, what if the creator isn't some scary mystery you have to blindly accept, but a coherent, elegant system that's actually designed for you to understand and even to verify for yourself?
So the goal here is pretty simple, actually. It's about making a shift, a big one. We're going to try to move from just believing something to actually knowing it, getting away from subjective feelings and blind acceptance and heading straight towards rational verification. The idea is to make faith the logical conclusion of a thorough investigation, not the starting point you're just supposed to have.
Okay, so for any good audit, you need a specific claim to test, right? So we're going to take one of the most significant, world-changing claims in all of human history, the idea that the divine, the architect of reality itself, has a child, an offspring. We are putting this idea under the microscope for a serious, logical stress test.
And what's so fascinating is how our source material for this audit, the Quran, deals with this. It doesn't just say, nope, that's wrong. It actually presents a logical, systematic refutation. It's designed for a rational mind to pick apart and analyze. It treats the claim not as some kind of heresy to be punished, but as an intellectual error that needs to be corrected.
So, how in the world do we actually do an audit like this? Well, here's the best part. The whole premise is that you are already fully equipped for the job. You don't need some secret password or a mystical vision. The tools are already built right into your own mind, into your cognitive architecture. The first tool is something the source calls fitra. Now think of this as your mind's operating system. It comes pre-installed with a logic that just naturally recognizes patterns, coherence, and things that make sense. You know that gut feeling you get when a story has a plot hole or an argument just feels off? That's your fitra. It's your built-in system integrity checker, and it's always running.
And the second tool? That's your ability to read the ayat. Think of these as the system's data points. They're the observable signs and signatures all around us, from the way a galaxy spirals to the ridiculously complex code inside our own DNA. These aren't just random bits of static. They're the data, the evidence, the clues, all just sitting there waiting for your analysis.
Okay, so we've got the tools. Now how do we put them to work? Well, to make this really click, we need a framework. And for this explainer, we're going to use a really powerful analogy to structure our audit. We're going to call it the architectural code. This is going to make the logic we're talking about crystal clear.
All right, let's break this down. It's super simple. Imagine the universe is this massive finished building that we're all living inside. The laws of physics, natural law, that's the raw materials. You know, the steel, the concrete, the glass. The Quran, our source code, claims to be the blueprint, the document that lays out the architect's intent and the core design principles. And of course, the divine is the architect. To really get the building, you've got to be able to read the blueprint.
Now let's actually consult the blueprint on that claim we wanted to test. The logic is laid out like a simple, clean proof. Step 1, the architect is unique, singular, no co-designer, no partner. Got it. Step 2, the architect is the one who created everything, all things, all processes, including biological ones, like, having kids. So here's the kicker. How can the architect, the very source of a process, also be subject to that same process? According to the blueprint, it's a structural impossibility. And right there, that's the core of it. The claim of divine offspring isn't just a matter of theological opinion. In this systemic view, it's a fundamental misreading of the blueprint. It's like saying the architect who designed the skyscraper is also one of the bricks in the wall. It just doesn't compute. It's a category error that introduces a fatal contradiction, and it makes the whole logical structure of the system totally unstable. Now, the blueprint doesn't pull any punches about how serious this intellectual error is. It calls it an atrocious thing. Not because it's some kind of personal insult to be punished, but because of the sheer scale of the mess, the systemic incoherence it introduces into a perfectly balanced system. And to really illustrate the effect of this logical fallacy, the blueprint uses this incredibly powerful cosmic imagery. It's as if the very fabric of reality, the heavens themselves, violently reacts to a statement so completely at odds with its own core design.
The recoil just keeps going. The claim is so jarring, so contrary to the foundational code of existence, that it's described as shaking the very ground we stand on, causing the Earth to literally split apart in protest of such a massive logical error.
And finally, the mountains, our greatest symbols of stability and permanence, they collapse into dust. Now, this isn't just poetry. It's a powerful metaphor for what happens when a system's core axiom is violated. The whole structure becomes unstable. The intellectual error is so profound, it threatens to bring the entire building crashing down.
Okay, so if that's the system's logic, what does that have to do with you? This is where our audit pivots. We're moving from the purely theoretical to something intensely practical. If reality is a coherent system, then what's your role in it?
The blueprint actually defines your role. It calls you a khalifa, which is a word that translates best as a trustee, an administrator, or maybe a steward. Now, notice this isn't a passive role. You're not just a spectator. It's an active, responsible position. You're tasked with understanding the system, maintaining its integrity, and making sure it runs according to its design.
And this totally reframes the whole concept of error, or what many people call sin. Just look at this slide. The old, mystical view sees it as a moral crime that deserves punishment. But the systemic view? It sees things very differently. An error is a systemic inefficiency. It's intellectual dishonesty. It's a failure to verify the data before you act. It's simply a failure to competently manage the amazing system you've been put in charge of.
And here it is. This is the practical verdict from our audit. In this framework, your faith isn't measured by how blindly you can believe in something you can't explain. No, your faith is your competence. It's your ability to verify the blueprint, to understand the system's logic, and to manage your role inside it with honesty and efficiency. So, let's pull all this together. What this whole audit offers is a huge shift in perspective. It's a new paradigm that doesn't ask you to check your brain at the door. In fact, it does the opposite. It places your own reason, your own intellect, right at the center of your relationship with reality. Just look at the comparison here. We are moving beyond the old paradigm. We're done with taking a leap of faith into the dark. We're moving toward taking a step of certainty based on real evidence and verification. We're going from passively submitting to mystery to actively assuming the role of a trustee. So the final message from this entire analysis is direct. And honestly, it's empowering. Do not submit to what you don't understand. Your intellect was never meant to be an obstacle to truth. It's the designated path to truth. The system is designed to be understood, not blindly followed.
And that leaves us with the final question. And this one isn't for me to answer, it's for you. Now that you've seen a glimpse of the blueprint's logic, now that you've been introduced to the tools for your own audit, will you take that step of certainty? Will you verify the system and assume your role as its trustee?